Hi, I'm Anne Marie, and you are listening to Achieve Internet Spiritual Holistic Self-Improvement Conversation Radio. And don't forget angel messages and all kinds of astrology. Boy, we are just awesome, and you will love it if you just hang on and let this channel, let everybody keep you company when you're feeling you need some sound behind your entrepreneur job. So we are getting a hold of our palm reader today. Now, Patti Lightflower is a professional, well-experienced master at this, and she has some amazing workshops that she sends, that she has also. And I will go into some of those and be able to also, we are going to look at palms that people send as pictures. And you can send those pictures to, if you have me on Anne-Marie Odell as a friend on my Facebook, you can send me pictures of your palm, and Patti Lightflower will also read those palms of you. We have a few with us today, and one of them that she's going to get to first is belongs to a woman named Karen, and she is an awesome creative person, and she has the most amazing, beautiful hands. I wish that I could send you those pictures of the hands right now, but I cannot. So we are going to look and see if Patti is with us today. Patti, are you there? Not yet. Okay, let's see what we've got going on here. And not ringing. Okay. We want to make sure that Patti, build Patti's phone number. Oh, there you are. Hello.
I'm here. Hello.
Good. So how's it going?
It's wonderful. Can you hear me okay? I'm on my mobile, on my cell phone.
You are on your mobile. Did he end up calling your mobile instead?
That's the one that rang.
It's
or vibrated. I had it on vibrate.
Okay. Well, it sounds very good to me, so hopefully it'll sound just as good on the radio station.
Great.
So let us hear a little bit about you, Patti. I know that you've been on the show a few times, and you have some amazing workshops that I saw that you're kind of doing. One of them was hula hooping and with some kind of elixir that lights up and things, and as well as palmistry. So just kind of go in about you, and then we'll go into all about what you do.
Well, thank you for having me back again. It is wonderful getting this opportunity to chat with you. I always enjoy our talks. And I am so busy in life that I'm loving it. So many of the things I am doing. I'm doing my palmistry classes now, and I'm having fun with that. And I have a studio space. I'm working out of the Elemental Om. It's a yoga studio. There's 2 studios in the greater Cincinnati area, and I'm in the Lebanon area. And I have a wonderful space there where I can do readings, and I can have workshops and classes, and take my hula hoop and go up and work out in the yoga studio and play. So I'm loving it so much, and I'm loving having the workshops that I'm having. And this weekend is actually a really good weekend. We're having, Friday night is a Wild Women drumming group, and we're having a great time with that. We're learning different rhythms and chants and songs to sing and beat out together, and it's wonderful working with women and our energy. And that's Friday night, and then Sunday is the hula hoop. It's Centered Within Hoop Company, and the idea is that you are centered within this hoop, and we put a little bit of like water in it, and there's these essences, and it becomes like a wand of energy. It's circling you as you're spinning in it. You're inside this, basically like a crystal that you've created, and you're putting your intentions in there as well. And when you hoop, when you get into that, it's kind of like a meditative state, and a mixture of a workout along with it. So you're exercising, you're getting to meditate, you're dancing, you're playing, and all along that you're spinning this hoop around you with your intentions in it, manifesting them. So we're having a workshop where you get to make your own hoop, pick your own colors, pick your own essences that are going to go inside.
Oh, that sounds so cool. I just wish I were there to go to that. That is so awesome.
It's going to be fun.
Oh, it sounds so fun. And so what is the elixir that you were talking about that goes into the hoops? It lights up? It's some kind of light-up elixir?
Well, this is something that Patti Lightflower works with. And I've been working with the hoops, and I have been putting essences in them. And then I ran into Patti and her elixirs, and I went, oh, my gosh, this is exactly what needs to go in, because she's putting more of her focus. She channels Merlin, and through that she decides what needs to be put into the elements, what phase of the moon, or, different cycles. So she really does the ceremony and puts her attention and focus into it in a, I guess, very high energy or spiritual way. And mine was a little bit, I had intentions, but more lighthearted. So we've hooked up together where I have the ability to show how to do a hoop and the idea of putting it all together like this, and she has the magic to put inside.
Oh, it sounds awesome. And, we have a hand that is with us today, and I wondered if, first of all, I'd like you to tell us a little bit about the difference between hand analysis and palm reading. Now, see, to me, I guess the way that I look at it is that there's always certain words that become very fad and popular. And so when I read palms, I do use intuitive energy, but I also go by the code and strict rules of palm reading, and then add to it what I feel. But for you, it's more intuitive. Am I right on that?
No, for me, it's more analytical. But I think of intuition not as in the same frame as psychic. I think of intuition as the ability, certain abilities to connect the dots. And some people connect them faster. Some people trust that ability to connect them. And some people maybe never connect them. But I think of intuition as more as that tuning in and picking up on things in a way you almost already know. Where psychic, you're pulling information in almost like, like a radio. You've got your antenna up and you're getting it from out there somewhere. That's how I see it. But with the palmistry, we kind of talked about this a little bit in messages a few weeks ago. First I have the palm reading website, I Read Hands, and I've had that since I think around 2006, 2007, something like that. So I can go into the back room of my space, my workspace, and I can see the words that people are using to reach my site. And they're in order of like the most popular words and the least popular. Hardly anyone types in hand analysis.
What's the most popular?
Palmistry.
And the least?
Palmistry, palm reading, palmist, those are the most common. And then hand analysis is almost no one searches for hand analysis. I mean, they do, but rarely. They'll go to palmistry first. So if I'm going to want to market myself, it's not really wise, really, to use hand analysis. If I want to be a little bit more private and exclusive, then use hand analysis.
I kind of look at it that there are certain words that the more upper crust likes to use. and for me, it seems as if, the upper crust usually changes a lot of the words and the word terms. And it's just like for a while there to say you were psychic was not as a good as saying that you were an intuitive life coach. It began to be like the fad words, the metaphysical words were changing. But I understand that there is a difference when you look at it from a psychic point of view. But for many people it's like if you ever go into certain websites, certain people can say what you and I could probably say in 3 sentences in a lot of lofty words. Do you understand what I'm saying?
But they wouldn't do it through analysis. It would have just been off the top of their heads. Is that what you mean?
No, I'm just saying that there is a certain crowd of metaphysical people that have become very in tune to certain words that within the metaphysical community. Huh?
Like you were saying, coaching, where before it was counseling or psychic reading.
Yeah, it just changes all the time. Yeah. It's the same difference.
So I just put out what I do, and if people are interested, that's fine. I don't overly concern myself because eventually it comes back around. And if I'm the only one calling myself a palmist, or then I'm the only one, and they'll find me. So I think people, if you're more worried about what other people think, and not as much about what you do, then the words are important. But if you're good at what you do, and I'll say if I'm good, I'll put it towards me rather than out there. But if I'm good at what I do, then what I do, no matter what I call it, people are going to want some of it. So I don't worry about what I'm calling what I do. It's more, I read hands. That's the name of my website.
That's right. That's right. And I can tell by your website that you have a large fan basis as well. So I'm not trying to tell you to change what you do, and I'm just laughing at how the metaphysical crowd sometimes likes to change words just like everybody else. So if I look at
kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. The high school metaphysical clique. So so I have a hand here that I wanted you to read, and her name is Karen, and I wondered if you could look at that hand for me. It's on my website, and I noticed that you told her last picture was the best one. Maybe you could look at that. I think it's a beautiful hand.
It is. She has a very graceful hand.
Graceful.
There are so many.
It matches the personality.
I think it's graceful. Very graceful fingers, graceful palm. She's relaxed. Her fingers are curled, or else she's tired. Curling fingers can kind of show that you're one of either. You need a good night's sleep, or just easygoing in the moment. Right. Simple things. I don't know if anyone else can, who all can go to your web page or your Facebook page or my Facebook page and see them. But the pictures are on your page. I don't know if it's public or not. And they are on
if they're a friend of mine, they can't.
Is public, my
That's
page,
the problem.
I think. But one of the things, like if we start up with the fingers, if you notice, have these little peaks on them. And they're referred to as teardrops of Isis. Teardrops of Isis are just sensitivity pads. And people with them tend to have a heightened sense of touch. And they stick out there, so when they're touching things, they can touch it, without the whole full finger pad touching. There's just this little point that can stroke things, and people with that peak like that tend to have a greater sense of touch. They go around stroking things because of it. They can't really go into museums and places where they'll have to put their hands in the pockets or behind their back, so they don't touch things. So they can almost see through their fingers with those. Then if you go on down the fingers, she has a lot of horizontal lines. Can you see those in her fingers themselves?
Yeah, I can. And we're looking at pictures that are at my Facebook page on Anne Marie Odell, and those of you that are friends are welcome to go there and look at them. I see that. So what does that mean to you?
That slows the energy down. The energy flows in and out through the fingers, through the palm vertically, and the horizontal lines will slow it down. And that creates also, when you see these like this extra step. And everything she does, she'll take an extra step. She'll double check herself. She'll, as she walks out the door, she'll go through her list of, did I turn off the light? Did I unplug this? Do I have my keys? Do I have what I need? If she's talking to people, she might remind them or tell them things in detail so that they're very clear. So there's a slowing down and a repeating of information often, and details being important. And you can see kind of a grid in some of these lines. So perfection's important to her. She likes everything to be done right, but she does.
I would say perfection. Yeah, that would look like perfection is very important to her. So what would you say about the thumb or anything like that, or?
She has a strong thumb. I was wondering, like, it's the way the angle of the picture. I think the thumb's closer to the camera, so it might look.
Yeah, she would have. Yeah, it would have to be a hugely long thumb. Yeah, there.
But it looks thick at that base, that lower base, the second section. And people with thick thumbs there tend to be blunt, honest, straightforward, pretty much say what they think when they think it. I'd have to look at it from another angle to be sure that it doesn't taper in, but from this side angle, it definitely looks thick. And she's got some horizontal lines on both her thumbs, so she procrastinates. And that can also add this doing things at the last minute, and having all this energy when that last minute comes. So she procrastinates and then gets it all done at once in this rush of energy. What fascinated me, what made me, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I would say, what would you say about that long palm?
Long palms are more intellectual, more using their mind, where a wide palm would have been more physical, hands-on. But the heel of her palm, down towards the wrist, it's strong. So I think she's still a hands-on person. But that length adds wanting to think things through, using her mind to accomplish things over physical energy. What inspired
Would you say that there's... Oh, well, go ahead.
No, I'll let you, because I'm going to change the subject, and you're on a roll with a thought. Go ahead.
The hollow in her hand. Yeah, there seems to be all this strength, but a great deal of hollow in the hand. What would you say that means?
Well, I don't need to really touch her hand, have it in my hand to really talk about the hollow, because sometimes the hollow, and in her case, the mounts look high. So the higher the mounts, definitely the hollow is going to be more visibly hollow. But a hollow, in general, can represent a person in the moment, their health in a way, or energy at the moment. But again, I would rather have be able to squeeze with my fingers, like at the back of her palm, and my thumb in the middle in that hollow, and then I would press. And if it has kind of a bounce and a thickness, I would look for that. So I can see it with my eyes, but that's one of those things I want to touch.
Okay. And so what were you going to say?
Okay, what I've been biting at the bit here to talk about is that her headline and her heartline are really interesting in many ways. What I first thought is she had one of these lines. It's kind of a new one in the science community as well as the palmistry community, and that's the Sawan crease. It's named after Sawan, Korea, South Korea.
Uh-huh.
And it's where the Sawan crease is where there's a headline that comes out and meets the heart line, and then there's another headline below it. And if you look at hers, the first one, which was blurrier, that was the one that really caught my attention. But the more she sent clearer ones, I think she has what would be like a variation of it. So in a sense, there's like at least two headlines start, and the top one makes contact with the heart line, and actually the lower one makes contact with the heart line too. And the one, it's a variation. You know what a Sydney line is, don't you? Like where the headline.
Yes, I was going to say that sounds like a simian line.
It would be kind of the sister of it, like the opposite. It's on the thumb side, where the other side you have your heart line connected to, you have your little heart line usually, and then a very long headline. So you have two lines on the little finger side cutting off on the edge. Where on this one's on the thumb side, where you have the two lines, a piece of heart line that's coming to the edge as well as the headline. So people with it, there usually is something about getting a grip on life. Like hand-wise, physically, it relates to hand grip. And there's usually something about when they're young in life, they have to become strong.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be nice if we could get some feedback from her on that.
Well, I can tell you that she comes from a family of 12 children.
Well, so she probably had to put some effort out there to be noticed.
Yeah. And I can tell you she's very creative, and she also is somebody that tends to be all hugs and very hardworking. I always compare her to the Old Home Madge of the bread company, because she gets behind a counter in coffee shops, and she's the one that everybody is drawn to because she has such a warmth about her.
And I would see that in all those empathy lines that especially show up in her left hand. Those are the lines, like under the index finger. She has so many of them. So she can identify with people, put herself in other people's shoes, or understand or show compassion. People will just pick up on that, I think, very easily from her.
Right.
And she has this really long line in both hands, so she's got a really good mind, good concentration.
Yes, she does. Yes. She does have a very good mind, and she's, she gives things her all, and that's one of her blessings. And I think you've hit it on the head on a lot of things about her.
She has the Mr. Cross in both hands too, if you notice it. So I think she has a very curious mind, and interested in things, wanting to understand things in life, rather than just have information.
Open-minded. Very open-minded.
And that's interesting you say that, because her head and heart line are really close together, which is usually narrow-minded. So I would say there's something, but all those empathy lines would give a different impression. But I wouldn't think of her as like that narrow-minded with an attitude, but I think she likes to focus in certain areas, like narrow down her view, her subjects in life that are dear to her, and I think she has preferences, that she knows what's right to her and what isn't, and she's not easily swayed. So I think there's an openness, like accepting all people, accepting everything around her. But those two lines being close together, that's a preference thing, that's a control thing. So if they were wide apart, she would have more of a whatever attitude, more laid back and not care. But that closeness, those are preferences. And all those lines connecting heart and head, I would say she's also intense.
Yeah, I would say she is quietly intense. You would love her. Yeah, she's definitely a person that. What's that?
She's deep.
Very deep.
How she's not superficial.
She's very deep. Yeah, she's not superficial. She is completely natural. So, I'll have to make sure that she gets a copy of this show so she can be able to hear her palm if she wasn't here at this time. What would you say is? Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Notice how her lifeline is real straight, and in general, the lifeline wants to curve around the thumb. And the upper part of it's real straight, and then it does do its curving thing and goes around the thumb. Can you see that in her hands? And that's in both hands.
Yes.
That's a disciplined person, and that shows that she can plan where she wants to go and get herself there. She knows how to stay on track. And her best years, like they're definitely going to be like 30s, like mid-30s on. She learns to have fun, and life just gets better and better for her.
Yeah, that's so cool that you said that, because she said she never really learned how to have. She was married at 16, I think, or 17, so she never did really learn how to have fun until she was about 30.
But shows in her hands, you can see it. Ooh, I'm just like goosebumps on that. Thanks. Love feedback.
What's that? Oh, the fact that her hands showed all that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you got
feedback like that. Yeah. Thanks.
Well, if you were to suggest to someone that how they, any rules that you can think of right now about what it would be that they could do to start reading palms in a basic way, are there any favorite books or anything that you would recommend, Patti?
Well, my favorite book is by Judith Hipskin, and you'd have to look for it in secondhand, like at Amazon, and find a used one, or Abe Books is another place. The ABC Books, it's ABE, AbeBooks.com. It's another place to get used books easily. And this is Judith Hipskin, and it's Palmistry: The Whole View. And then I would recommend anything by Lori Reed. REID. And those are really good getting started books. They're common sense in many ways, and it's very general palmistry, what's most typical. And then I would move on then to the other books that are more advanced. I have many friends that have written books, and I'd love to recommend them, but I also feel that some of them, actually, they're not in English, and I haven't read those.
Oh,
and some
really?
Of them are, yeah. So many of my Facebook friends are listening in. I'd love to plug your books, and go ahead and post them on my page if you're listening and you want to, and anybody wants to go there and look, because there are some great books out there. Actually, I would even mention like Jennifer Hirsch, Given Glyphs, if you're interested in fingerprints, and because she really goes into detail there and has some really good examples. And hopefully,
I tried to take
my book will be out there.
I tried to take a picture of my hand before the show, and I tell you what, it is not easy to take a picture of your own hand.
No, it's not. It's easier to have someone else do it or take it.
Yeah, it's. I was trying to lean it on a pillow and then hold it with my chest onto my wrist, and it was like, oh, I so much want to have Patti read my palm. And so, if you were watching this show, on webcam, I would be able to hold my palm up. But I understand that that's a little. Yeah, I know. Well, we have some questions but they are not related to, we have Jazzy Girl says, she would love to be able to give her hand, but she cannot do it at this time. I guess I know that you don't, do psychic readings on questions. Is that correct? Or do you?
Not psychic readings. I mean, if they ask a question about palmistry in general, I'll have an answer for that. But
yeah,
I've discovered often that when people describe something in their hands and then they go and give you a print of it, it's totally different. So it's like one of those ink blot tests. Everybody sees something different. So
right.
If they don't know what we're going to look for, they'll tell us what they're seeing. But when we go and look at it, our eyes are seeing other lines completely. They're saying there's a square there, and we're looking at a triangle.
Right. Yeah, these were other kinds of questions, and I didn't know if you, read cards or anything that would allow you to answer questions that were not related to palmistry. But let's just keep it on track, and let's imagine that Patti is doing the hula hoop right now with her energy, and we're just going to play a little hula hoop music.
Sounds fun. We put up her hands on my page. Did you see it?
Nope. Hold on just a second here. There we go. Okay, so
that was something else.
a little bit of belly dancing music for hula hoops. What kind of music do you guys play when you do your hula hooping?
Hey, belly dancing, definitely, or meditative.
Yeah. Yep. And what is the main age limit that you have for your hula hoop classes?
I don't think there is an age limit. It's very low impact, so you don't really, you're not like jogging and running, which would affect more the knees and the feet. You're just standing there moving your hips back and forth.
Right.
You can do more than that, but it's really more of a hip movement.
I've been to some of the Renaissance fairs where I was reading palms, and it was amazing. Some of the best belly dancers were some of the biggest girls there. And there was one that even won a national, and she had to be almost 200 pounds, but she says, I got the jiggle. And she says, when you get those skinny girls out there, they just don't jiggle the way us plump girls do. And evidently there was enough
belly dance.
there was evidently and there was enough international men that enjoyed seeing a little bit of meat on their girls, and she just. And then one thing I noticed is that she was very liquid when she danced. She was a liquid dancer. Everything was just very graceful and enunciated, and whereas some of the other ones that were more beautiful were not as liquid in their movements as her. So I think it's kind of cool that you don't necessarily have to be a skinny Winnie to be a good belly dancer.
Or a palm reader, either one.
That's right. Yeah, right. So
you develops your core. It gives you that strength and builds up the muscles around the backbone. So it's more of an inner strength that you're developing and stamina. So you'll find yourself like having better posture with it.
Do you think it's good for the waist? Can it shrink your waist?
Definitely. It trims the waist. Over time it does. And actually, slowly, you can even get, like, what is it, a 6-pack or an 8-pack? You can kind of start getting those.
So do you have a 6-pack?
Not at the moment. Well, wait a minute. This is radio. Yes, I have a lovely. Let me put a new picture up.
It goes. Well, are you in cold weather, Patti?
Oh my gosh, yes. I think it was below 0 last night. It was so cold, and I had to be out in it today. I think it was in the teens.
And it's crazy. It's crazy trying. It's crazy trying to. What's that?
Are you out west? Are you where it's warmer?
No, I'm in the Midwest, and we have 20 below, 10 below, and it's like walking dogs has always been my thing, and it's just incredibly difficult to be into exercise outside. I have a wonderful friend that jogs a lot and has won trophies all over the nation. And she says, Anne, there's no such thing as too cold, just not dressing good enough. So, she'll get out there in 6-7 layers of clothing and jog and God bless her, I said, I can't do it. So, tell me your website.
I had some of those clothes that kept me warm, and I was pretty amazed. They do work. But I don't think
have we ever had
sickness.
I don't ever think we've had this cold of a winter, though, for a long time.
No, it's painful. Painful. Do you know we have one more hand? We have a picture here from Cynthia. Did you see that? Or did you put it on my
let's look at Cynthia. Cynthia, what does Cynthia's hand say to you?
We only have one. The interesting thing is the difference between her hand and Karen's hand. And Karen has these more like rounded fingers and a different shape of hand completely. And the way she's holding her hands is more relaxed, curled. And then you scroll down and I look at Cynthia's, and it's just the way it's out there. There's this energy. You can almost feel it throbbing through there. And the deep lines, if you're in the elements, they would be more like fiery. And that's this all these deep lines would show. Even her minor lines, you can kind of tell, even though it's not a good picture, that they're deep type of lines. And this is emotional. She deals with life feeling things. Her first impression of anything around her is a feeling, an emotion. Whereas back up to Karen, Karen has a thought. Her mind reacts to things first. She thinks first. And Cynthia feels first. And all those deep lines would show it's hard for her to brush things off. So when she takes something into herself, it's in her. It's hard to let go. And her fate line, and for people who might be following this and don't know their lines, there's two horizontal lines basically usually, and there's usually two deep horizontal lines and two deep vertical lines. The one's the lifeline by the thumb, and the other vertical line is the career or the fate line. And hers comes up and it appears like it doesn't go through the headline. And that's often on people that don't want to pay attention to what other people are telling them. They like to think for themselves. Is this someone you know too?
Well, I actually did a palm reading on her, and I was curious as to what you would have to say about her hand.
Okay. Well, she has those teardrop devices on her fingertips, so also the sensitivity, but her fingertips are more blunt. There's a little bit of a rounded, but there's more blunt, and her ring finger actually looks like it bulges out in the upper corners of it, so a little bit more what they would call spatulate. And this shows her energy is more outward and giving, where I think Karen would be a little bit more on the receiving side. But it also would show she's a skeptic. This person likes things proven to her before she accepts it.
I think so too. Yeah, I kind of came up with that also.
In your reading of her. Looks like her knuckle stands out, the lower knuckle. So she likes things organized around her. She likes to know where everything is and things to be physically in their place. And it looks like her little finger has a bit of a bend to it. So she may not always be straightforward in what she's saying, kind of bend the truth, not necessarily lie, but say what needs to be said, the polite way.
She loves a good white lie, loves a good story. That's the way. Yeah. Would you say, what is the difference between a finger of sacrifice in the little finger and the top being bent in? And when the top of the little finger is bent in, doesn't that indicate love's a good story and can embellish? Whereas when the entire little finger bows, doesn't that sort of resonate with the finger of sacrifice then?
Well, when it's bowing a lot, the whole finger, I don't know. I'd almost have to see it in context of the hand and how the length, if it's long or if it's short, because it can also be just planodactyly or clampsodactyly, which is two forms of the finger, little finger. It's the bone, actually, in that case, bending. And I don't
so you don't feel that has specific.
So if people don't know what they have, they might automatically think, well, everyone thinks I'm a liar because I have this bend in my finger. So, but there is usually, the little finger's communication. So if the finger isn't straight, there is some kind of bending going on. So either there's a hesitancy to communicate straightforward, depending on the other factors. It could be dishonesty. It couldn't be seen as an isolated thing. And it could just be shyness. Or it could be something based on childhood insecurity. So a lot of things could be, again, you almost have to put it in context with what else is going on, because I wouldn't want to stigmatize anybody with it. When you look at the fingers, do you notice how deep the crease is at the top of the fingertip?
Yes.
Just cuts in there.
Yes, and what does that mean to you?
To me, that means she doesn't take the first opportunity or idea that goes past her. Where a lot of us might think this is the best thing that's going to come along, we better grab it. She'll wait for 2 or 3 or 4 more possibilities to pass by before she'll select. So a different energy about choosing. Things don't just kind of smoothly jump right into her. And then again, it's another horizontal, which I was mentioning before, only this is the horizontal that you're born with. It's an interphalangeal crease.
Now, I have to say that you read palms totally different than I do. Because I every time you specify something, and I usually amaze people when I read for them, but when I see creases, deep creases in the fingers going all the way down. I say, have you had much sleep? And a lot of times they'll say no. And I'll say, well, I'll tell you what, if you want to know if you've had enough sleep, you just look at those creases going up and down your fingers. And they will, if the deeper they are, usually the more indication that is that you're stressed or you're not getting enough rest. And so
I would agree with you on that, especially the fingertip. Definitely.
Yes.
She's trained.
And as far as the bump on the thumb that you were talking about, what does that mean to you?
What bump on the thumb?
When you there's like, let's say on the I'm just saying in general, when let's say we're just not even looking at a picture and we're just saying things that people can look for in their hands now. If we were to say that there are certain characteristics of the thumb, one of them that I always laugh at is that I was taught that when the bottom of the thumb has a large knuckle that really protrudes out, I always call that the used car lot bump, indicating that person has an ability to say and do things in a way to get what they want, one, and two, that they have the ability to also be very flexible, because usually the larger that bump is, there seems to be a lot of rotation and a lot of coordination with the thumb.
Generally, now there's often two, and I think I know the one you're talking about. There's one, like the first section of the thumb, second section where the thumb connects to the palm. There's that knuckle. That one is often the palm.
Yep. And then that's the one I'm talking about.
Often one that's right at the wrist. And both of those have a kind of a traditional, I think I've heard you mention the used car person regarding the top one before. Those two traditionally kind of have this rhythm and timing and drumming and beating, kind of going with it.
Which is also the characteristics of a good con artist.
Well,
you can't be a good...
I would put that in context again, like if they're going to be a con artist or if they're just, or maybe they'll be a minister and be able to bring everybody to their own beliefs. But I see it as diplomacy when it bulges out like that. Sure. But some people it can change. You can hold your thumb differently. You can hold your thumb so that bulges in or goes away and you're holding your thumb straight. And if you're talking with somebody who has no bulge and they're holding it so it's straight, those people will say no first. They're able to say no to you. Where the knuckle's standing out, they have a harder time saying no. And in that sense, I would see that as diplomacy, wanting to be polite, congenial.
Well, the other thing that I was taught about diplomacy is if you have a very small waist in your thumb.
Yeah, that's true. They go together.
That the smaller the waist is, that is a very good, strong sign that is a person that maybe not only has a wonderful way with words to be able to convince other people to their side, but you add to that the skinny little waist in the middle, and you've got an excellent diplomat.
Right. They're usually very polite and tactful.
Good connectors.
Where that thicker one is that more blunt, saying what they think, putting their foot in their mouth.
So in your palm reading, and I'm just kind of being one comparing notes here with you, right? So when you're looking at a hand, how do you do time frames, or do you?
I do time frames. I work with the lifeline. In many ways, I see that everything that I am looking at is here and now. So even if things relating to the past show up, it's how they're dealing with it now. So if they've healed over something and it no longer is causing them issues in their life, that particular mark will fade away. If it's still something, baggage, that it's running everything they do in their lives, they come up with this old stuff again over and over, then those markings will show up they'll stay, and they can be read in a way as current old stuff relating to now. Over time, I have found that in many cases, because I've been reading hands for 30 years, and I've been able to take prints of people's hands over the years, the things that I have been very profound in my reading, just blown them away, blown myself away, that a few years later I'll make prints of their hands and read them again. And I wouldn't say the same thing to them because those markings have gone, which amazes me.
Don't they?
So I know that.
Don't they change every 10 years? Isn't it characteristic for the hand to change about every 10 years?
Maybe. I think we shed our skin, what is it, every 7 years completely, or have all new cells or something like that.
Right.
But the hands, the major lines don't change that much. It's these fine little lines and the condition, I guess I would say, of the major lines. But I've even seen lines do what I would call as walk. They'll create like an island, and then part of the island will fade, and the new part will become the stronger part. And then it'll happen again, so that they're kind of slowly moving into a new spot. So even though you don't really see it move, obviously, if you make prints over years, you will see these differences. So I think that back to timing, I feel everything's here and now. I find that the lifeline often will have little marks on it that kind of show you how they're reacting to things. I can almost go to the "you are here" without knowing how old a person is. Like if they were to stick their hands through some hole in a wall and all I saw was hands, I would probably be able to guess very close to their age without seeing them because of the spots in their hands that relate to "you are here." And I noticed the fate line, career line, will also reflect timing. A lot of people time the life or the heart line and the headline, but I've never found it consistent. And I've noticed there's different systems where they'll start at different ends and put age, different ends. So I think I think whatever you're looking at on the heart line, the headline relates to in the moment rather than future or past. In my opinion.
Have you ever felt that there was a specific healer's hand? That there was certain characteristics of a healer?
I feel them, actually. When I'm reading groups of people, there'll be long groups of lines of people that will just take my energy, like almost thinking that I can heal them or something rather than just read their hands. So I'll feel that feeling of drained. And then there'll be someone that'll sit down, and all of a sudden I will feel revived. And the markings are in their hands as well, but it's just like, oh my gosh, thank you. Stay for a while, please. But there are a lot of markings that you've had that too.
It is it is exhausting. I mean, I have had lines of 20, 30 people at Renaissance fairs, one right after the other. And I'll tell you what, when you don't wear bifocals and those little hands start moving on their own. And it's amazing that once people know that you're a palm reader, you can't even go to a club or a bar or any place without people putting their hand in front of your face. So it begins to be one of those things that people want so badly for you to tell them what they are because they can't figure it out half the time. And they're wondering with confirmation if what you're seeing is what they feel they are. And so I always say, and there's a certain eroticy, I think, when you're single and you're learning to go out with men. I always say that most people love to have their hands touched. Like you say, it makes them feel nurtured. It makes them feel accepted. And it does take a lot out of you, but wouldn't you say that also there's a certain Cleopatra eroticy about reading a man's hand for a single woman that wants to learn how to palm read, that it begins to be a wonderful way to, I think, also attract people?
Well, I'm afraid to answer this because the first thought that comes to my mind, though, is, again, when people are in line and one person after another is getting read. So you have all these different people, and I tend to hold with my left hand, I hold their, I guess it's right hand, across from me. So that hand is in my hand, and then my other hand is pointing. And the way I hold it kind of so that my thumb kind of can push their thumb open if their thumb is kind of coming in. So there's a little bit of a tension there where I'm pushing against their thumb. Well, sometimes I guess I don't, and I'll notice this in men and women. But very often, I think once they relax, they'll start stroking my hand with their thumb. And I just think that is so cool.
Kind of like a baby. Kind of like a baby would do.
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
You know,
I there's a rapport going on here. We've made contact.
Yeah, it's a very, if people took pictures, and I have had people take pictures of me reading palms. It's amazing how open and vulnerable and revealing people will be with you when they feel. It's almost very motherly when you read palms, don't you think? It's they trust you, and I even did it at a prom once, and I think I read 150 kids. They said that they had never had such a wonderful turnout in the counselor's office for job qualities that people went in for after that session. But after 150 people, I charged a lot more the next time. I'll tell you what. But we have 3 minutes left, baby girl. And I want you to give your website, so if people want to have a palm reading from you, or just contact you, or look at your site and your history, what would it be?
It's ireadhands.com. And on that first page, if they scroll down to the bottom, if they're out of town, there's directions on how they can get a reading through the email, where they can send me their prints and I can read them online. Or if they're in person, if they're local, they can come and visit me. I'm at the Elemental Home in Lebanon.
And where's that at?
It's in Lebanon, Ohio. Downtown.
Ohio. Okay.
Mm-hmm. It's just a little rural city.
And so you have, and so you're giving palm reading classes, you're teaching people how to make hula hoops, you're belly dancing with elixirs and magic potions, and I just think it's awesome, and I wish I were right there down there with you. It sounds like you have wonderful. Yeah. And this is your only job, isn't it?
It is my main job. It's mainly how I make my income.
And that's awesome. I just think that it's exciting, and you really take the old. I love the gypsy pictures, and people have got to go see your Facebook page, and they can friend you, and can't they? And you'll be able to accept them.
Definitely. I look forward to that. Thank you so much for having me on your show again. I loved it.
You're welcome, babe, and thank you, and I'll have you back again. And I just really enjoy sharing notes with you and listening to your opinions, and I hope you don't mind sometimes me conflicting with yours, but that's what makes it fun.
That is what makes it fun, and not everybody agrees, and we all have different viewpoints and different ways of expressing things, and we learn from each other that way, so I appreciate it.
Bye. Have a good day.
Bye-bye. You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Encouragement, empowerment, enlightenment. AchieveRadio.com.
Hi, I'm Anne-Marie O'Dell at Achieve Radio's Tarot Joy. Come on upstairs. Grab yourself a tapestried pillow and get a down-home, honest reading with 30 years Master Tarot channeling experience. In addition, I will have a weekly spiritual guest from around the world. That's 2 readings per call for you. After the show, I invite you to come on over to thecallingoflight.com. I offer PayPal readings at 15-minute or 30-minute sections of time. All yours. To thecallingoflight.com.